Messenger of God alayhi salatu wasalam lived through a lot of difficulty, and he talked about the best du'as to make in that particular difficulty. One of the person's du'as that's accepted is the person who we call al-muttar. Often we look at the state of affairs of Muslims in their lands. Take Palestine for instance. I'm sure everybody is upset about what's going on, what's been going on for over half a century now. What's incredibly interesting is if you talk to the people that live there, that actually live in Gaza, the West Bank, they have more tawakkul in one person than most people in the West do in groups. Why? Because they understand what affliction is and what Allah has sent as a test to those people. You will find people happier there often under that type of terrorism and that type of assault than you will find people here that have a lot of wealth and a lot of ghina. Allah states in the Quran, أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَ, who replies to the one that's afflicted by pain, with difficulty, with dhulm? Who replies to that person who's suffering? إِذَا دَعَاهُ, when he calls God. وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ, and then God removes that difficulty. وَيَجْعَلُكُمْ خُلَفَاءَ الْأَرْضِ, and God makes you khalifas on this earth. أَإِلَهُ مَعَ اللَّهِ, do you think there's another God? قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ, there are very few people that actually take notice of this. Allah says, مَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِ يُسْرًا, whoever fears God, God will make for him some form of ease. Allah states in the Quran, سَيَجْعَلُ اللَّهِ بَعْدَ عُسْرٍ يُسْرًا, God will make for you from your difficult situation some form of ease. There was a famous Sahabi who once came to the Messenger of God alayhi salatu wasalam. His name was Auf ibn Malik al-Ashja'i. And this is really interesting because often when we are in a difficult situation, most dunyawi things we can resolve. If we have some money problems, maybe we can go to somebody that will give us some money. Not understanding, of course, is God that's alleviating that difficulty. But when people are terminally ill,
they don't even have that option. It's just God. When the children get lost somewhere. In this particular story, he goes to the Messenger of God and his son has been kidnapped. It's quite normal then. In those days, bandits would kidnap your children sometimes if they're too far away from the aman or the place that was safe. He went and complained to the Messenger of God. He couldn't get him back. His son's name is Salim. And the Prophet ﷺ, there are two narrations to this story. In one narration, he says to this companion, Ibn Malik al-Ashja'i, he says, take this statement to your son, or send a message to him, and make him read it consistently. In another narration, he states as parents, mother and father, just read this statement. The ulama mentioned that if you ever lose your children, you're to read this profusely, and your children will come back inshallah. So he commands him and his wife to read La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah consistently. And in the other narration he sends it to his son. He doesn't send people after him, maybe it was difficult. Bandits were very, very difficult to get hold of, and they may have killed his son. Sometime later, some say within the day, some say a little after, the son narrates the story. He says that for some odd reason that his captives were completely distracted. Being distracted, he just ran away. When he was running, he found a camel outside. It didn't belong to him, it belonged to the captives. He took the camel and then he returned and found his parents. What's incredible is that they go to the Messenger of God and they're worried about the camel. Did we steal the camel? Is it halal? Or the Prophet ﷺ said the bandits and their property was, they kidnapped him, the wrong that was committed by them, so there's no fault for you taking the camel and running away. The question is, when we fall into a state of difficulty, a state of mushkila, a state of shiddah, how many of us resort to remembering God? How many of us? The Prophet ﷺ said in a famous hadith, he said that الصلاة والعبادة في الحرج كالهجرة إلي. The word harj, which I would assume is definitely this time is included in is a difficult word in the Arabic language. The Sahaba didn't know what it meant. Not with a ha, with a ha. The Prophet ﷺ said, the day of judgment will not come until this occurs. They said, what does it mean? He said, al-qatlu, al-qatlu. If we think that seeing all these people dying across the world is something that's going to calm down, it's not. The Prophet ﷺ said the day of judgment will not come until killing is a normal thing across the world. And it's everywhere. And in another hadith he stated, alayhi salatu wasalam, until a neighbor kills his neighbor, until a brother kills his nephew, till a nephew kills his uncle. He said, is it like when we go to war? Because in those days, especially in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the father would be a non-Muslim and the son would be a believer, and they would go to war. Like in Badr, Sayyidina Abu Bakr fought against his own father. Is it like that? Is it like war? He said, no, it's not like war. People are not going to be killed like that, because they could understand killing another person in war. They said, what is it going to be like? He said, on that day people will kill one another, and then when you ask them why they did it, they won't know why they did it. He said, will they have any sense of control over their minds? He said, no, not on that day. He said, they will not know what they did after they did it. And the Prophet ﷺ said, in that period, this period of haraj, he said, al-ibada fil haraj kal hijrati ilayya. Worshipping God in that period is like making hijrah to me, meaning from Mecca to Medina, when he was alive, alayhi salatu wasalam. I want to return to the original point, al-faraj ba'd al-shidda. Many of us may be going through some form of difficulty, or may go through some form of difficulty, as it's a part of life. One thing the believer misunderstands is that everything is going to be okay for you in this dunya. Allah states in the Quran, do the believers think that they will be left alone? In another verse Allah states, do people think that they will be left to say amanna wa hum la yuftanun, that they will be left to say we believe in God and will not be tested? The word fitna in the Arabic language is related to taking gold and putting it into a furnace and seeing if it's real or not. Allah states, we tested those people before you to see those who were truthful and those who were untruthful. The differentiating factor in this world is shidda for people, is difficulty. It's not faraj, it's not opening. If we can take the difficulty in this world, then the hereafter will be much easier. The Prophet ﷺ said, Sayyidina Uthman, this hadith narrated by, he was standing over a grave one day and weeping. I'll leave everybody with this. And somebody asked him, he said, why are you weeping? What do you see? What are you thinking? He said, the Messenger of God said about this place, meaning the grave, the qabr. He said, if one's affairs are easy here, then what comes after will be easier. If the affairs of this realm are difficult, what come after will be much more difficult for them. And the hadith that comments on this is the person on the day of judgment, or rather in his grave, when he's shown what he's going to get on the day of judgment, which is not very good, prays to God that the day of judgment doesn't come. And the person who receives bliss in his grave prays to God that he hastens the day of judgment. All of this a manifestation of what they did in the dunya. May Allah give us a faraj, a great opening and a fath in this dunya, and may we be able to have sabr in a state of shidda. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لي ولكم وأتوب إليه ورسائل المسلمين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Just before we make the announcements, Shaykh was just mentioning about the tawakkul in people in times of difficulty. I was blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to visit Gaza in 2014 after operation, one of the names of the operation of the Israeli operation on the Gazans at that time. I went as a humanitarian in 2014 with the Islamic Relief, and the validation of the tawakkul in the people that you get to meet in these kind of circumstances. You go as an outsider into a war zone with certain understanding and expectations, almost pity. sympathy, empathy. You walk out humbled by the grace, magnitude, and tawakkul, as the Shaykh said, in people standing firm and steadfast in the most difficult of circumstances, without housing developed, without security, with the loss of family, with a constant barrage of uncertainty over your head. And you talk to people and you walk away really humbled by the state of other people's response in times of difficulty. So Shaykh just reminded me of that time, and I just thought I'd share that with you. May Allah make it easy and give us the ability to be able to do our level best to help our brothers and sisters in ourselves and everywhere in the world. Bismillah, a couple of announcements. Inshallah, things are moving nicely forward as we have been discussing throughout Ramadan and forward. On Sunday, we have a brothers' chai and chat. This will be at 5 o'clock. All brothers are welcome. Bring some food, inshallah, and share with others. And so we'll have a chai and chat, an opportunity to get to know one another, make new friends, and have a networking amongst ourselves. I'm pleased to announce, inshallah, on the Sunday 29th at 5 o'clock, led by Sister Nada, we are calling for all girls between the age of 15 to 18 to come and join us at the hub, and there will be a starting of a girls youth club, inshallah, and this is a first session on the 29th of the last Sunday of the month, 29th at 5 o'clock. Young girls, sisters between the age of 15 to 18 to come along and share your thoughts and ideas. Encourage your young daughters and sisters and nieces, inshallah, to participate, so we can hopefully build a stronger community together. There will be a introductory taster session of kids archery, safe one, inshallah, with a trained instructor from the age of 10 to 16, boys and girls. Sunday again, 29th at 2:15. For those of you that are on the Brothers Hub survey group, please respond to the survey that's been sent out. We're really trying to seek your feedback and your input, inshallah, as in terms of what you think we need to be focusing on, to be building on, inshallah, for our community. And last but not least is the Hub Cafe, chicken Qari with rice or pasta, bake, and karak chai too at the end. Jazakumullah khairan. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والتسليم على سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين وإمام المرسلين وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال جل وعلا في كتابه المبين: ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون، إلى آخر الآية. وقال جل ثناؤه: وأيوب إذا نادى ربه أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين فاستجبنا له فكشفنا ما به من ضر وآتيناه أهله ومثلهم معهم رحمة من عندنا وذكرى للعابدين. وقال جل وعلا: من يتق الله يجعل له من أمره يسرا. وعن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام: واعلم أن النصر مع الصبر والفرج مع الكرب وأن مع العسر يسرا. وعن أبي بكر رضي الله تعالى عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: دعوات المقروب اللهم رحمتك أرجو. وعن سعيد بن أبي وقاص رضي الله تعالى عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: دعوة ذي النون إذا دعا ربه وهو في بطن الحوت: لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. لم يدعو بها رجل مسلم في شيء قط إلا استجيب له. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر لي ولكم وأتوب إليه ولسائر المسلمين. نحمد ونستعين ونستغفر ونتوب إليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا محمد عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، اللهم افتح علينا فتوح العارفين وفقنا توفيق الصالحين وزدنا علما يقربنا منك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت حي يا قيوم تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا سهلا. اللهم أعذنا من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا وأصلح لنا شأننا كله. لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم، ولذكر الله تعالى أولى وأجل وأتم وأعظم وأكبر. كلوا وأقيموا صفوفكم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. استقيموا الله ورحمكم الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا وأيوب إذ نادى ربه أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين.
فاستجبنا له وكشفنا ما به من ضر وآتيناه أهله ومثلهم معهم رحمة من عندنا وذكرى للعابدين وإسماعيل وإدريس وذا الكفل كل من الصابرين وأدخلناهم في رحمتنا إنهم من الصالحين وذا النون إذ ذهب مغاضبا فظن أن لن نقدر عليه فنادى في الظلمات أن لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين فاستجبنا له ونجيناه من الغم وكذلك ننجي المؤمنين وزكريا إذ نادى ربه رب لا تذرني فردا وأنت خير الوارثين فاستجبنا له ووهبنا له يحيى وأصلحنا له زوجه إنهم كانوا يسارعون في الخيرات ويدعوننا رغبا ورهبا وكانوا لنا خاشعين والتي أحصنت فرجها فنفخنا فيها من روحنا وجعلناها وابنها آية للعالمين إن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاعبدون الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا إن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاعبدون وتقطعوا أمرهم بينهم كل إلينا راجعون فمن يعمل من الصالحات وهو مؤمن فلا كفران لسعيه وإنا له كاتبون يعملون وحرام على قرية أهلكناها أنهم لا يرجعون حتى إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كل حدب ينسلون واقترب الوعد الحق فإذا هي شاخصة أبصار الذين كفروا يا ويلنا قد كنا في غفلة من هذا بل كنا ظالمين إنكم وما تعبدون من دون الله حصب جهنم أنتم لا واردون لو كان هؤلاء آلهة ما وردوها وكل فيها خالدون لهم فيها زفير وهم فيها لا يسمعون إن الذين سبقت لهم منا الحسنى أولئك عنها مبعدون الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد في الأولين وصل على سيدنا محمد في الآخرين وصل عليه يا ربنا في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا برحمتك واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت اللهم نفس كرب المكروبين وقض الدين عن المدينين واشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين واجعلنا من المرحومين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنا نسألك ألا تصرفنا من هذا المقام العظيم إلا بذنب مغفور وسعي مشكور وشفاء لما في الصدور وعمل صالح متقبل مبرور برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وسلام وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه الأخيار وسلم تسليما كثيرا.